on his press conference after the semifinal. Okay, it looks like we are live, and I'm going to pause. Roger Federer is just watching his little press conference on Wimbledon. And let me see if I can find this video and make sure that our audio is okay. Standard operating procedure here. And then we'll see what we've got going on. Okay, sounds like the audio is okay. And this is another impromptu show. We had an impromptu show yesterday with very little notice. I scheduled this one about a half an hour ago. Set it up in the as an event for a live stream. And it came about because I was just out walking, take a nice long afternoon walk, and it came into my mind the old saying that Packard Motor Car Company had for many years. They used, Lewis is in the house, hello. They used the slogan, "Ask the man who owns one." Ask the man who owns one in their advertising. And I did put a link about an article about all this in the description of this video, so you can check that out and check out some of the cool older ads for Packard Motor Car Company. And Packard, they produced some vehicles that I think, excuse me, I think you could draw some parallels, I'm going to drink a little water here, between Packard Motor Car Company and Grand Seiko. I think you really could. You could draw some parallels because I watch in the forums and the Facebook groups, the Grand Seiko Owners Club, Owners Group or whatever, and they're very passionate about their Grand Seikos. And so very similar to Packard motor car owners, they really loved their Packards. And the Packards were known to be reliable and very durable, very, very heavy duty, heavy use vehicles. The inline 8-cylinder, which they made for many, many years, was just extremely robust. And then they had the V12, which was more expensive to maintain and more complicated and so forth, but it was super quiet and super smooth and just an amazing piece of engineering. The first one I think they called the Twin Six, and then later they changed the name of it. But and they had some 6-cylinder cars also. I'm more familiar with the ones with the inline 8, the Super 8, and the Packard Patrician. A friend of mine had a 1953 Patrician with factory air conditioning. Oh, by the way, this shirt that I have on, oldie but a goodie, and check this out. There's the label. I just took a picture of it. Made in USA, folks. Made in USA. See, we don't just talk the talk. We walk the walk. When we say buy USA, we do it. There you go. So let me go. Of course, this was years ago, but since I bought like a dozen of them, I still have some that are still in pretty good shape. I usually buy any shirts I buy by the dozen. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pull up a few photos and talk a little bit about the Packards. And yes, Packard was in the golden age. They made cars from early 1900s all the way up to, well, 58 was more or less a Studebaker. I think the last real Packards were, I don't like the V8 Packards. I would say 1953, like the 1953, 54 Patricians were about the last of the real ones with the inline straight 8. They went to the V8, and people liked the Caribbean, but they were pretty much done by that point in time. But they had a long run, for sure. And so let me view my photos here, and I'll pull these up, and we'll tell a few little stories here. So this is a friend of mine, Mike Manhurst, that lives right near me here, and that's one of his cars. That's his Packard. And let's see here. Here's some pictures at the Rockville Car Show, and that one in the center there is the one I used in the thumbnail of this video. and these were taken at the Rockville Car Show, beautiful car show down in Rockville, Maryland. And then here's some pictures. These were, I think, taken up in Pennsylvania at a national meet, and I think it was an AACA national Packard meet. And there's some Packards. I like the egg crate grill. Say that 3 times fast. This is a custom body. This is the model's called a custom. That's why it has that grill, you can tell. Now here's a 1953 Carribean Convertible, the green one on the right. Those are very rare. And a friend of mine actually had one of those, but that is not his. He also had a 1953 Patrician, which I think I'll have a picture in here somewhere. I don't know if that's the 53. I think that's a 54 there. I think that might be a Clipper. There's a Durham-bodied limousine. Another gentleman, that acquaintance of mine, I wouldn't say a friend, but George Hamlin, who owns quite a few Packards. That limousine is his. And there's a Caribbean Convertible, a V8 Caribbean Convertible there in the middle. The one with the blue. Here's one with the top down. They ride super nice. They've got like an air suspension, automatic leveling suspension system. They ride very, very well, very nice, especially for the year. There's another Caribbean Convertible, green one. I don't know if that was my friend. My buddy's was that color too, but I don't know if that was his, or there's 2 of them next to each other there. I think that might have been Richard's. Let's keep going here. I'm not a big fan of the older ones that kind of drive like trucks, but oh well, it is what it is. I like when they finally got to where they had power steering and all that sort of thing. So we'll keep going. And there's Mike Manhurst there in the middle, and another friend of mine, Russell, on the right. He had some Packards. A bunch of my friends had Packards back in the day. Let's keep going here and see if we can see that Patrician with factory air conditioning. No, it's not in here. I know I had a picture of it at the Rockville Car Show. I just must not have tagged it as Packard. But anyway, so yeah, his 1953 Patrician had the factory air conditioning, big unit, big Frigidaire unit in the trunk, and big, huge compressor under the hood. And when it was working right, it could cool that puppy down. They even made a few, I believe, in 1941, factory air conditioned cars. Those are very rare. I think they were one of the first cars, if not the first, to have a factory air conditioned car. Let's see. Hi, Craig. What's your thoughts on the Grand Seiko SBGV 238 25th anniversary model? All right, we'll pull that up. We will pull that puppy up here. Let's put this one on the screen while we're doing that. Let's see here. Oh, I think that's one that, I think Steve had one of those units. Pulling it up here, just give me a second. I can get the, yeah, I think he might have had one of these in stock. I'm not sure, but I think he might have one. I think it's a cool watch. I mean, it's definitely a cool watch, and no doubt about that. And it has the the 5 second a year more accurate 9F movement. This one is 10 seconds a year rated. I think it's going to be better than that, though. Remember, they always under-promise and over-deliver. So the reason I like mine is it's got the loom. This other one does not have the loom. And so, but if you're buying it, and if the loom is not an issue for you, then this model is absolutely a gorgeous watch. And it has the see-through case back, which is cool. You can see that gorgeous 9F movement. So that is kind of cool. So yeah, I'd have no problems with it. Limited edition of 600. I think I would ask Steve. He might have one of those. Oh, look, page not found. They should fix their. I clicked on the specifications and it says page not found. What a fail. Oh well, we've never said that the Grand Seiko folks are geniuses when it comes to marketing. We've never said that. Hello from Atlanta. Craig, another Craig is in the house. There you go. And I think he showed that on one of his shows. I think he did. I don't think it's because it's a half-assed two-tone, not gold on bracelet. See, that doesn't bother me. People have commented on that, and it doesn't. The lack of gold on the bracelet wouldn't really bother me. I think it's fine. I'm not a fan of steel and gold in general, period. I generally like just either all steel or all gold, in this case all titanium. Well, the clasp is not, it's stainless steel, but I digress. But anyway, I'm not a big fan of mixing the two together, but Grand Seiko unfortunately doesn't sell that many all gold, and the ones that they do are ridiculously expensive. So this is the next best thing if you want to kind of dress it up a little bit, get a little bit more pop, a little bit dressy. Doesn't bother me that it doesn't have the gold down the center of the links. Yeah, they might do that for durability reasons. Who knows? But it's not. It wouldn't end the deal for me. I'll put it that way. But you see what I bought. Okay, so obviously I didn't buy it, and I have no problem with the one that I bought. It's thin. It fits nice on wrist, lug shape, case shape, everything. I'm 2 thumbs up on that. So let's see what else we got going on here. I'm going to try to find the. Why didn't that Packard come up in that other search? Let me try something here. Well, I don't think it matters. Doesn't matter. I've got the picture in here somewhere, but it could take forever to find it. So, what do you guys think about the idea of asking the man who owns one? And I would add on watches, ask the man who actually wears one, right? Because I can tell by a lot of the comments on some of the pages, some of the forums, Facebook pages and so on, Facebook groups. I can tell based on some of the comments that the people have never even worn one of the watches that they're commenting about. Like somebody said, let's hear the famous Seiko jingle, right? When you shake the watch, right? There is none. Solid as can be. Okay. It is solid. There's no jingle, right? So it's like these people just have like no clue what they're talking about. And then they talk about the bracelet, oh, the bracelet's not up to Rolex quality. And so this bracelet, I think, is better in a lot of ways, better. And then they talk about the pin and collar system. Oh, it's better to have screws. Did they not study physics? Did they not realize that a fixed screw going from one end link through the center link, which is rotating, and screwed into the back link, that screw that cannot rotate, that's fixed, don't they realize that when that center link pivots on that screw, don't they realize that there's something called wear? Okay? With this, the pin that's going through floats. It's fully floating. You think there might be less wear there? Think it might be a little more comfortable on wrist? So these people make these comments and they have no clue what they're talking about, and then it's an echo chamber. Then they all repeat the comments. Right? Oh, pins and collars are no good, Now, a pressure pin, I agree. The pins that go through and go under pressure into the end link, those are fixed. And those are going to wear just like a fixed screw, plus the way they're pressure fitted in there, you pull them in and out a few times and all that, they can loosen up and they can really be a problem. That's kind of I think that's a low rent way to do it, the pressure pins. But the pin and collar, where the pin goes through and is pushed into the collar, and the collar's pressure fitted and just sits there and holds that pin, and then the whole thing can rotate, that's a fantastic way to do it. And really, the only way to improve on that, or to use screws instead of that, I'll put it that way, I don't know that it's an improvement, but to use screws in a way that is comparable is what we talked about yesterday, the sleeves, the ceramic sleeves that Rolex is using, that float freewheel, that float over top of the screw, right? So that the screw can be fixed, but now that sleeve can rotate with the bracelet as the bracelet pivots. Very good design. Now the only problem there is you've got those little tiny sleeves that if you're messing around with it and one of those sleeves, you lose it or whatever, or you break it or whatever, then it's another issue. But I think that's probably not a big problem if you're careful. So let's see. What's your opinion on lower tier Swiss watch brands such as Orson, Hamilton, etc.? I kind of like what I've seen of Orson, but I have not had enough experience with them to really say. And I've taken a look at some of the more affordable alternatives. I had an Omega for a while, but I think if I was going to go with a Swiss heavy use watch, and that's what I tend to buy because I don't baby my watches. I use them in fairly heavy use situations. I think I'd still have to go with Rolex. I think that's the way I would have to go. I think I would go Rolex or Grand Seiko. I don't think I would mess around with any lower tier Swiss watches, especially when you can buy a Grand Seiko for a pretty decent price and I think get a better watch. Let's see. Craig, have you seen your power reserve level get to full by just wearing the watch, or does it hover around half power? Oh, it's always full. On the diver, it's always full. These don't take much wrist movement to stay wound up, and I'm pretty active, but even so, I know I've noticed that these definitely take less wrist movement than my Rolexes used to take. My Rolex, especially my Date 8, it was kind of a wrist hog. It wanted about 6 hours a day to keep running, especially as it got older. So if I only wore it like 2 or 3 hours a day, that usually was not enough to keep it going. This one would probably keep going on 2 or 3 hours a day. A fairly active time, not when you're sleeping, stationary the whole time, but this one does not take as much wrist movement to wind the puppy up, and it is always pegged full, because I'm wearing this one all the time now. Like I said before, the only time I'll be wearing that is when it gets colder, and I need something thinner to go underneath the dress shirts. So that one's parked basically for now. Let me see. Let me just reload this, make sure I'm not missing any comments. Okay, so let me know, guys. What do you all think? What do you think about asking the man who owns one, asking the folks that actually wear and use these watches? And for that, you're probably better off finding somebody that only has like 1 or 2 watches, so that they're actually wearing the watch in question. If somebody has a collection of 20 watches, and they rarely wear the particular watch that you're asking about, right? It's pretty much in a box, or it's in a safe, or in a safety deposit box. I mean, they can't really tell you much about that watch. You really have to experience and wear these watches, in my opinion, to really know what the deal is. And the reason I kind of thought that this one would really serve me well is it's not that dissimilar than the SBDC 007 that I wore for a couple of years, the Shogun. This one is a little bit thicker. It's a little bit heavier, but on balance, it's very similar, and it wears very similar to that Shogun. And I was very pleased with the way the Shogun wore and handled, and with the bracelet and everything. And this is just a continuation of that, and it steps it up as far as the spring drive goes and the super accuracy of the spring drive movement. And this one, the bracelet is a little more attractive with the shiny part in the middle. You know, the Shogun didn't have that. This one's just a little bit cooler. It's got a little bit higher cool factor. As well it should. It's 3 or 4 times the price. Maybe 5 times the price. Actually, more than 5 times the price. Because I think you can buy a Shogun now new, brand new, for like $600 or $700. Carlos, I think it's great. I agree. Most of the comment does not seem to have real experience backing them. Carlos, to talk about a man with experience, he wears these watches. He absolutely wears them. And Carlos, let us know if you want to call in and show us what you're wearing right now. If you want to call in on Skype, let me know and I'll launch Skype, and you can do that. But I'll have to get Skype running in order to do that. So, oh, by the way, I set this down here because I shaved, again, with the Timeless razor. And man, do I really like this razor. I mean, I just have to brag on it again. These are made in the United States of America. Timeless Razor Company, I guess is what they're called. It's several brothers that formed this company. They're machinists. And it's just super nice. I also have a bronze one that's made of bronze, that the handle's not quite as long. That one stays in the shower, so I shave in the shower sometimes. But this is the one I use most of the time. This is the stainless steel one, and just fantastic. And I'm absolutely a fan of double-edged shaving now. No problem at all. Save a lot of money, and I think I get a better shave, and definitely a more enjoyable shave out of the double edge. Let us know in the chat if you guys use a double edge razor. Also, you're lucky your Apple Watch still works. My battery expanded and popped the display off the case. Yeah, I heard about that. I heard some people had problems with that. Mine is fine. My Series 1 Apple Watch is still okay. And it's charging all the time. It's on the charger right now. Let's see here. I'm wearing Explorer, but I'm having a lot of cuts, and I assume we would have a bad connection. Oh, okay. No worries, my friend. Let us know, hey, anybody else that has something they want to show off, if you want to call in via Skype and show what you're wearing, so we can ask the man who wears one. Just send me an email to my name, CraigShipp@gmail.com, my name at gmail.com, and I'll send you the Skype number, and you can call in and show us your watch. Hello, sir. Can you tell me what is the main difference between a vintage Rolex 1601 and 1603? Interesting. Good question. Good question. Oh, by the way, we'll talk about the Rolex that Bark and Jack got. And we'll talk about that. I wonder if the 1601 was the date just that I had. I mean, and I can tell you right now, I'm not an expert on the models on these, but I had a 16, well, I had a 4-digit version. I don't know which one it was. I bought mine in 1978 or 9. no, 1978, I think. New. And it had the engine turn bezel. Trying to pull up here a picture. 1601. Here's one for $4,000 on Chrono 24. Can't tell if that's I guess that's the engine turn bezel. Looks like it's worn down a lot. Maybe that looks like a fluted bezel on that. Interesting. That would be a good one to get if it is. I think it is a fluted bezel. It's got the Swiss bracelet on it. Mine had the American bracelet. Is that a 3/4 size? That's almost looking like a 3/4 size in some of those pictures. 36 mil. No, it's a 36 mil. That's interesting. Yeah, white gold fluted bezel. 1977. So that's right around, mine, I might have gotten mine in 76. I know that it was shortly after I got mine that they went to the Swiss bracelet. See, this one has the Swiss bracelet on it. You can tell because they're flat. The underside is flat, whereas the American bracelet, it just went round all the way around. It didn't have the flat on the inside. That's how you can tell the American bracelet. But that's pretty cool, that one for $4,000. You can get a nice Rolex for a decent price. I had a lot of wear on it though on that, and I would not be surprised if that bracelet's been replaced also. That wouldn't surprise me either. I like to get an all original watch, and that's what I did. I commented on Barkin Jack. I think he made a good move getting that no date sub from the original owner, box and papers, name matches, everything. That's the way to buy a vintage Rolex, in my opinion. Buy it from the original owner, name matching on the paperwork, all complete unit. Never been serviced, 17 years old, never been serviced. To me, that's a big plus because nobody's been in there monkeying around with it, messing it up. It still works fine, which is fine. He can wear that for years. Probably he may not have to service that for another 10 years. So had very little wear and tear on it. And the Pièce de Résistance, it does not have the super case, the ugly super case. 2 big thumbs up. And I saw, who was it? I saw a video, somebody comparing the, Mark Goldberg, the dog man. He did his video about him selling the Omega. And he was showing the Omega side by side with the Rolex. You guys probably saw this with his Submariner. And this doesn't bother me one bit, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that were cringing the whole time because he was like banging the Omega into the Rolex and vice versa, right? Banging the crown into the case, the side of the case, repeatedly, like, he could have kept them like a 1/4 of an inch apart, right? There's no reason to bang them up. There was plenty of room in the frame of the picture. But anyway, I digress. So, but you're seeing that side by side of the 2 watches, and my gosh, it really illustrated how ugly the super case is. Because on the Omega, it has those nice lugs that kind of twist and bend down, that wrap around the wrist, right? And it looks good. And then you saw right next to it the squarish, the way the super case goes down and cuts in, and then there's the bracelet, like the bracelet's too small for it or something. It just looks really bad. And that particular shot, just putting those side by side, really showed that the super case is a fail. So that's how that works. So no, to answer your question, maybe somebody else can chime in about the difference between a 1601 and a 1603. Maybe it's the bezel. I don't know. You hear the term luxury watches used a lot to refer to watches today. Do you like the term, and do you think of your Seiko Diver as a luxury or just a great tool watch? That's a good question. I think that it is definitely a luxury to spend a lot of money on a watch. I mean, it is not a necessity item. Now, I don't use it as a luxury item. In other words, I don't baby it or anything. I use it like a typical watch. But it is a luxury, let's face it, to be able to spend that kind of money on a watch. I mean, there's a lot of other things that you can buy and that you should buy before you spend, in this case, $5,000 on a watch. That is definitely luxury territory, yeah. But that doesn't mean you have to use it, baby it, like a luxury item. I mean, I think if you spend that kind of money on a watch, yes, it's a luxury, but you should enjoy it. You should use it. There's no benefit to letting it sit in some box somewhere. You might as well just take that money and invest it. But if you're going to actually wear and use it and enjoy it, it's fruit of your labor, right? You've worked hard. You've become successful. You have enough discretionary income that you can buy a $5,000 or $10,000 watch or $30,000 or $40,000 watch like Carlos, and you're at that stage in life where you can spend that kind of money on a watch, and it really doesn't affect your net worth. It doesn't rock your world as far as affecting your retirement or anything like that, right? So as long as it's a very small percentage of your overall net worth, then yeah, go ahead and treat yourself to something like that. And then wear it and enjoy it. That's my philosophy. I went to the Patek Museum in Geneva. It was very interesting seeing the watches in real life compared to huge macro shots. Many of the complicated watches were so difficult to read from 1 foot away. See, that's a perfect example right there. Exactly. When you look at a lot of these watches, the macro shots and all, it's a whole different ballgame when you get them on wrist. And the shape of the lugs, the way they fit to the wrist, the way that the bracelet tapers around, all of these things you're not going to know until you get the watch on wrist. And if a seller won't let you wear it on wrist in their store and really experience it and all that, I would go to somebody else. It's just like if they won't let you test drive the car. I mean, what's the deal there? So, absolutely. That's a very good point. I'm now very close to Finisterre, the end of the earth, the place that people thought the world ended some centuries ago. Well, there you go. Cool. Pretty silly to have two I guess you meant Submariners. Yeah, Submariners, to have two Submariners. Yeah, well, also, I would say he's pretty heavy in steel watches. I don't get having a whole bunch of money tied up in steel watches. I would get rid of a few of those and get something in gold. Or just get rid of a few of them and invest the money in something that's a good investment. Thanks, Craig. Great response. Well, thank you for participating. Archie had to borrow $1,000 from his dad to buy a Tudor for the Black Bay. By the way, Craig, your thoughts on Tudor? Tudor? Are you kidding me? Oh, boy, we'll have to pass on Tudor. I got to just check something here because Audrey was going to give me a call, and I just got to see what's going on here. Okay, so that's good. She's going to call in a little while, but we'll be done by then. So yeah, Tudor. For the money that you're going to spend on a Tudor, I think if you buy wisely, I think you could get a Grand Seiko, a used one. You probably have to buy one with a 9F, but there's nothing wrong with that. And so I think there's a lot of options out there. I would even buy a Seiko Shogun probably before I'd buy most Tudors, and then I'd just save up some money until I can just get a real Rolex. We skipped the whole Tudor thing back in the day when none of us even considered a Tudor. I mean, it just wouldn't even be a possibility. I mean, and we all had Rolexes back in the day. All my friends, we all had Rolexes. The vast majority of us had them. And there was never any discussion of getting a Tudor. And they made them back then. They made them back in the day. But it's just a lesser, it's not the Rolex, it's not the real deal, and it's just, you're just paying a lot of money for no real reason, I think. I think I would just skip that whole operation. So that's how that works. Let's check the stunner one more time here. And let's bring up the time. We haven't checked the time on this for a while. So let me close some of these tabs. I got a ton of tabs open here. Bunch of tabs here where we've been looking at different things, including I had Bark and Jack's website up there. Oh, here we go. Here's the time.gov website. Let me refresh this. And I'm going to put this up. Let's see now. If I put these side by side. All right, so let's see here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a freeze frame here. And I'm going to freeze it when we get to right at 30 seconds. There. Okay, I just froze it at 30 seconds. So it looks like to me we're about a half a second. It was right in the middle of the movement on the GMT. So it looks like we could possibly be a half a second off. But it was right in the middle of the movement. Okay, so let's unfreeze it. All right, let's let it go again. We'll try that one more time. And what we're going to do this time is we'll let it run around to 30 seconds again. We'll do the exact same thing. And we'll see what happens this time. We'll do a freeze frame right. Let's do it at 15 seconds. 14, 15. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there you go. It looks like, again, it had just started, barely started the movement from 14 to 15. So it looks like we're about a second or half a second slow, something like that. We'll do it again at straight up 408. We'll do it at straight up 408. And we'll see what happens. Well, let's do it at 45 again. Okay, 45. Okay, there we go. See, same thing. About 1 second. So, now typically, as you guys know, I do not like to have a watch that runs slow. And so that could be an issue. That could be an issue. So it's about a second slow. Now, how many months has that been? Does anybody know exactly when I got the watch? Because I haven't reset it or anything. Let me go to my YouTube channel and I can search and I can tell when I got it. I can tell by the first video I did. Everything runs slow when I'm streaming like this because I'm using all the bandwidth to stream. This Video Pro likes to hog the bandwidth. Hog up that bandwidth. Well, maybe somebody can tell me in the chat. Oh, here we go. Yeah, here we go. GMT. All right. Okay, first look. Here's my first look. I'll pull it up here. Just give me a second. I'll be able to get the date here. Okay, let me stop this from playing because you can probably hear that. First look. Oh, shoot, it's still playing. Come on. Okay, this is May 11th, 2019. So May 11th, June 11th, July 11th. So we're 2 months. So we're 2 months and we're about a second off. So that's the update that's the update, folks. Yeah, 2 seconds. And so we're 1 second in 2 months. So that means if it keeps at that rate, we'll be about 6 seconds in a year. 6 seconds off in a year, which is, of course, within the specs. What will be interesting to see is if it keeps running slow. Now, remember, it's off wrist, so that could be an issue too. It's been off wrist most of those 2 months. So that could be an issue too. But it'll be interesting to see if it stays consistent, because what I can do when I have the battery replaced is there's a little thing where they can adjust. I'll have Steve adjust it a hair towards the faster side. And because I would rather it run a little bit fast, even if it ran like a second a month fast. I'd be happy with that. I would rather it be a little bit fast than slow. So that'll be an interesting thing to see what ends up happening. Of course, that assumes I still have the watch in 3 years when the battery goes dead. And by the way, Adrian made a comment about the battery, that he kind of doesn't like the fact that after 3 years he's going to have to put a battery in it. Well, here's the thing. The big plus to that is it's a lot cheaper to put a battery in every 3 years than to have a watch serviced, even if you have the watch serviced every 20 years or something, right? I mean, that's a big hit. The battery's cheap, right? And you can do it yourself if you want to. And the battery's dirt cheap. So if you compare the two, if you compare the maintenance involved in maintaining that 9F stunner versus any other high-end watch that will eventually need servicing, it's not a close call. The GMT is going to be a lot cheaper. Now, this one could end up being cheaper because this one could probably run for 40 or 50 years without doing anything. No battery, no service, no nothing, right? So this could be the cheapest watch to run for decades, multiple decades. I mean, you can wear a Rolex for at least 2 decades, at least 20 years without really having it serviced at all. But this one you can probably run for 40 years, probably 4 decades minimum, maybe even 50 years without any servicing at all. So there's that. 1 second and 2 months extreme. Actually, 9F is great, Blue says. I would get the Tudor Black Bay 58 instead of a GS Diver and invest the extra 2K in stock funds, and after 7 years we'll have the watch and extra cash. Watch Doctor running some numbers. I just don't want the Tudor Black Bay, though. That's the problem. I wouldn't wear it. It would just be sitting somewhere, and it'd just be a waste, because I wouldn't wear it. I would have no interest in wearing a Tudor, personally. I'd wear my Apple Watch before I'd wear that. I mean, like, there's just no way. That dog's not going to hunt. Craig, is the 9F thermal compensate? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Otherwise, buy a Rolex or GS Diver. After 6 months, you reset the watch for daylight savings time anyhow, so that's plenty accurate. Blue is bringing some logic into the discussion. Some logic and intellect into the discussion. I love it. Hi, Craig. I really like that GS GMT and am considering to get one myself. On the other hand, I am thinking of saving up for a spring drive as I admire that smooth second hand and the craft behind it. I hear you, Alexander. It's a tough call. Here's the thing. Do you need a thin watch? That should be the deciding factor, because if you want a watch that's thinner on wrist that can go underneath any tight dress shirt or whatever, the 9F is the way to go. If you don't mind a little more thickness with the spring drive, then I love this watch. I absolutely love this watch. So think about that, Alexander, the thickness issue. Now, there are some spring drive models that are thin. The manual wind ones are really interesting, but those are not robust sport watches. They don't have screw-down crowns. They're more of a dress watch. So it depends on your use case. Cheetown, California, having myself a salad for lunch with freshly picked homegrown cherry tomatoes. Oh, I used to have a ton of cherry tomatoes at my place down in Urbana. Ton of cherry tomatoes. I love those. They're good. Yeah, they're good for you too. I love the new Omega Seamaster Professional 300M in blue. It may be my first luxury diver. Aren't they a little bit on the thick side, though? I think they might be a little bit on the thick side. I don't know. I asked to Madrid Rolex SC if they would regulate my day-date 40 to make it a bit fast instead of around 1 second slow per day. They would do it free, but I am hesitant to have the watch open. What do you think? I just don't like having a watch that runs slow, and I hate having a watch opened. So I hate both options there. But I think if you're planning on keeping the watch for a long time, Carlos, I would probably have it adjusted, because it would bug the heck out of me that it's slow. Because every time you fix that, you've got to recalibrate the minute hand with the second hand, make sure it's all in sync. I mean, you got to go through all that drill every time. That bugs the heck out of me. That's why I sold the Shogun. It ran slow. I just got tired of messing with it. It just bugs the heck out of me. Craig, if the Snowflake had lume and a screw-down crown, would it be your one and only? It was a little bit thick. I think it was 12.5 mils or 12.6 mils thick. So for me, a lot of my dress shirts are kind of tight on the wrist, and it was kind of snug going under the wrist. And the fact that it's, I think, 41 mils, it was a little bit on the big side. See, this watch here is 39 mils, and it's 12 mils thick. So it's thinner and smaller, and so that makes a difference. I don't think I could do the Snowflake as a one and done. I don't think it's thin enough for me. Now, if your shirts are not as tight, see, my shirts are kind of tight in this area, my dress shirts. So I don't have as much wiggle room in there to fit a watch. My day-date fit fine, but I can't go with anything any thicker than that. And it was about 12 mils. Just moved to Arizona, Craig. No daylight savings means you probably never have to stop the time. Oh, they don't do daylight savings time there? Okay. What are some nice brands? I wish they would get rid of freaking daylight savings time, period. I mean, that is such a irritant. What are some nice brands of polo shirts? I like these original polo shirts that were made in the USA. If you could find a stash of those vintage that you could maybe buy in really good shape, that haven't been laundered a bunch of times or whatever, I love these shirts. They really were nice shirts back in the day. I don't know that you can buy them like this anymore, of this kind of quality. So that could be a problem. Now, a lot of the shirts nowadays are made of the synthetic, stay dry material and all that. A lot of my golf shirts and stuff are made of that, which is good when you're sweating a lot, because these will get wet and then they don't dry. They just stay wet for a long time, right? So if you're in a situation where you're going to be sweating a lot, then you definitely want to get one of those synthetic, more modern type golf shirts or tennis shirts or whatever. I have both. I'll wear something like this when I'm not in a situation where I'm going to be sweating, and then I'll wear one of those others, in that kind of a situation. So yeah, there's that. Let's see, less time recalibration watch and more time to invest in Bitcoin, or just watch it go up and down. Watch that roller coaster ride. Want a one and done watch? Get yourself a Rolex Datejust or Oyster Professional in 36 mil. That's a hell of a suggestion. Absolutely. Or a Explorer. Absolutely. Positively. Or a Day-Date. Yeah, that's a one and doneer. Ask Jack Nicklaus, right? All right. Well, we might have solved all the world's problems once again. Let me know in the chat, folks, if there's anything else that we need to resolve here. And yeah, somebody asked me. Somebody asked me if I would sell the GMT Stunner because I'm really not wearing it, and I would definitely sell it. I would sell it if it was going to a good home, somebody that would appreciate the watch. I would sell it. And by the way, it's hitting the markers every time. It's the angle of view that that makes it look like it's not. And see right there, it's starting to hit the markers. So it depends on the angle of the camera. But yeah, if somebody wanted that watch, and I would include that gas bones strap in the deal. Now that's only going to fit them if they have about a 7 1/4 inch wrist or a little bigger. It doesn't have a lot of adjustment to it. The way it's designed, it's custom designed to fit a certain size wrist is the way they make their things. It only has a few millimeters adjustment either way. So you want to have about a 7 1/4, between a 7 1/4 and a 7 1/2 inch wrist. That would fit. Otherwise, probably not. So let's see. Craig, are you watching Wimbledon? No, I'm not, but I was just listening to the press conference with Roger Federer. What happened in his semifinal? Because he was just starting to talk about it, and I didn't hear the rest of it. What happened in his semifinal? Did you watch it? Let me know what happened if you did. Oh, excuse me. Oh, boy, that's rude. Are there situations that would make you feel uncomfortable wearing a yellow gold Rolex Date 8? Not many. There were some times when I always had a steel Rolex in rotation with mine. Usually it was a GMT Master 2 most of the time. And so there were times when I wore the GMT, mainly times when I knew I was going to be in situations where the watch was really going to get beat around. Then that watch would be on my wrist. But a lot of times the Date 8 would be on the wrist, and I wouldn't care one way or the other. So no, and it wasn't really a problem. It wasn't like people were revolted by the 18-karat gold watch. I always dressed pretty nice and all that. So it kind of went with whatever I was wearing. So it was never really a problem. And even when I was very young, it wasn't really a problem because we were all dressed nice and we were driving nice cars and we were in a very affluent area anyway. So it was just. It was normal. It was not an issue. Now, if you're in a real rough area, you can get stabbed. I did have a guy step to me in Baltimore that wanted to take all my stuff. He didn't use the word stuff, but anyway, it started with an S. What he said, I'm going to take your fill in the blank. But I just explained to him that that's where they would find him if he made that attempt, and he did back down. But yeah, I had one guy step to me one time and wanted to take not only the Date 8, but he wanted to take my camera gear too. He wanted to take it all, man. I think we solved all the world's problems here. There you go, blue. Roger Federer wears Rolex, absolutely. Djokovic wears Seiko. Uh-oh. Craig, what's your thoughts on Sin watches and quality? That's a good question. I really don't know. Again, I haven't really had experience with Sin watches. So it wouldn't be something that would be on my radar screen. But Craig, are you divorced? Yes, I am divorced, and I'm very friendly with my ex-wife. So that's good. Federer beat Nadal. Final against Djokovic tomorrow. Okay. I hope he wins. I really do. I think it'd be cool if Roger wins. I think he's a class act, and I would like to see him win that puppy. So, yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to watch it. I don't know where it's streaming, if they are streaming it. I don't have any cable TV or anything here. I'm too much of a cheapskate to buy cable TV. Can't buy expensive watches and cable TV both. That's the way I look at it. Do you have kids? No, I don't. I have 3 what I call goddaughters that I'm very close to, that are my ex-wives' kids, but they're not mine. But we're very close. So there's that. Here's the thing. With boats, it's all about other people's boats, right? Don't buy your own boat. Go out on the other guy's boat. Fill it up with gas, right? That's cheap. That's no problem. I don't care how big his tank is, right? Fill it up with gas. That's a lot cheaper than buying your own boat, right? And maintaining it and so on. So go out on the other guy's boat and the other guy's kids, right? Go ahead and adopt them, make them your godkids, and that way you can spoil them. You know, you can even put some money away for college for them or whatever. Still a lot cheaper than having your own. So that's how you do all that. Cheetown, California, sending you out an email of some pics. Okay, well, let's take a look at that before we wrap up. Let's take a look at that. It's taking a while to load, unfortunately. I don't see it. Don't see the email yet, but it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. Just checking some other things here. Go back to my primary here. Not seeing it. Not seeing the images yet. Yeah, we'll give it a little bit here and see what happens. I agree. The best boat is a friend's boat. Yeah, and here it came in. And hey, and here's the thing. Fill it up with gas, you know, take them to dinner, right? It's still a lot cheaper than you owning the boat. And see, that way they'll invite you anytime, you know, anytime you want to go, they'll invite you. If you're generous and you put gas in it and stuff. Most people are freeloaders, right? They'll just go for a ride and they'll thank them at the end of the day. Oh, thank you so much, right? For taking me out on your like $200,000 boat and burning like $600 worth of fuel. And, you know, I drank up all your beer and thanks for the memories, right? That's how most people do it. So there's a watch. Absolutely. I'm just not a fan of the oyster on the Datejust just because I don't like the polished center links, and also the domed. I would rather have the fluted bezel because it doesn't show scratches and it looks a little more elegant. So the way I would go with this watch is I would go with a Jubilee, and the fluted bezel is absolutely the way I would go with a Datejust. But that's a good looking piece. I mean, isn't there nothing wrong with it? Yeah, that's how I would go. Let's see here. I love going out on other people's boats. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Craig, my mom wants your lamp. Ha. Yeah, that one is a reverse painted lamp, the one closest to me, and it's an antique. And the one in the back, that's a Tiffany copy. It's not a real Tiffany lamp, but it's basically a copy of a Tiffany. And I've got a few other similar lamps around here. Got some nice lamps laying around. I pay for their gas as a courtesy. Well, there you go. And that's why you always get re-invited. I have 6.6-inch wrists. 36 mil is an amazing fit for my wrist. Yeah, is that one in the picture 36 mils? Because it looks great. It absolutely looks fantastic. Yeah, you cannot go wrong with a 36 mil Datejust or day date. You can't go wrong. This big watch craze, of course, here I am wearing a big watch, right? But this is a sport watch. It's a different thing. For an all-arounder, the 36 mil is ideal for an all-arounder. It really is. That can be worn in any circumstance. Extremely versatile watch. The best part about being an awesome uncle is you can give the kids back at the end of the day. Absolutely. And the same thing with animals, pets. Borrow your neighbor's dog, right? And take the dog for a long walk, give it some treats and all. It'll love you to death and all that, and then give it back to them. So when you have to go travel, right, for 2 or 3 weeks, you don't have to take it to a kennel and all that. That it's their dog. They're taking care of it, right? You just have fun with it. And they'll love to have you walk their dog. Just go by, just tap on their door. Hey, would you mind? I'd like to give your dog a walk. They'll eat it up. They'll be, oh my God. Oh yeah, absolutely. And just give their dog a walk and pretend like it's yours. There you go. You can go to the park and you can meet girls with it and everything else, and then take it and return it when you don't need it anymore. I'd love to see Craig get a steel Rolex limited piece like a Hulk or something. No, I'm not going to get something with a super case. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. Yep, the silver dial was 36 mil. The gray dial was Datejust 41. Yeah, I would pass on the 41. Yeah, it looks too big. You can see right there the difference. Okay, there's that one. See how big that looks? And now let's go back to the other. See? Much nicer. Much nicer. Plus, I like the dial better. Absolutely. Yeah. I'd go with that one. But again, I would get the Jubilee. And I'd try to pony up and get the fluted bezel too. I really would go that way. Let's see. Craig, can you give a big shout out to my girlfriend, Fiona? Fiona. Absolutely, Fiona. Yeah. That's the way that works. Just give her a shout out. Craig, my interest in getting a sports car, Porsche 911. Absolutely a 911. There's certain years of them that are not as popular as others that you can get a pretty good deal on. Again, with that, I would try to find a one-owner, well-kept car, always garage kept. Some people buy those cars and just absolutely pamper them. They keep them in a garage, sometimes even a climate-controlled garage, and they just take super care of them and don't put a ton of miles on them. That's the car to buy. Buy that car from them and get a good buy on it, and buy it direct from them, not through a dealer or something. All the paperwork will match, the name on the title and the address on the title matches the house where it is, where the garage is, and everything matches. There's no stories like, oh, it came from my uncle or whatever, No stories with the car. We used to call that no stories, right? I don't want any stories. I just want everything to line up. I want everything to be the way it should be. No wrecks, no paint work, no nothing. All original. I'd like it to have the original tires on it if possible. I bought quite a few cars over the years that were vintage cars that had very low mileage that still had the original tires on them. I bought a 69 Cadillac Eldorado that had 22,000 miles on it, and I bought it in 79. It was 10 years old, and it had the original rubber on it. And I drove it all the way out to Tulsa, Oklahoma to the auction on that original rubber and sold the puppy. So that's how that works. I think that silver dial Datejust is a great bet. I choose white because the roulette date, but with hindsight, I think silver is nicer. Well, white might be a little more legible too, though, Carlos. Make sure you get a good 911. Nothing is more expensive than a cheap Porsche. There you go. Yeah, get a one-owner, garage kept, super well-maintained. Yeah, absolutely. It's worth paying and getting a good one. And if you're not sure, take it to an expert and have them check it out, before you settle on the deal. But you can tell if you're getting one from somebody that's a nutcase that just super maintained it, that made his girlfriend take her shoes off when she gets in the car, like that Shania Twain song. That's what you want. I agree with Craig on fluted Jubilee. unless you really look for a sporty look. And if that is the case, I would consider an Explorer instead. I agree with you on the Explorer, but I think the Datejust with a Jubilee is with the fluted bezels plenty sporty. It's good enough. It's all around. It'll do everything. It's not an issue. Right. I think this is probably a scammer. Hang that up. Yeah, it's probably a scammer. These. Okay. Yeah, I think that was some scammer. All right, so let's see. They're trying to call back again. Persistent boogers, aren't they? Let's see. Actually, was asking if you were interested in getting a sports car. I'm not. No, I don't need a sports car right now. Let's see. Do you have any good advice to share about keeping happy in a marriage? No. No. You don't ask somebody that's divorced how to have a successful marriage. Like Dave Ramsey says, you don't ask somebody who's 300 pounds of fat, right? Not muscle, but, obese. You don't ask them how to lose weight, right? You don't get on their weight reduction plan. And you don't ask a broke person how to invest money, right? And you don't ask somebody who's been divorced how to have a successful marriage. That's how that works. I would say how to have a successful exit from a marriage is make sure that you have a prenup. Now, I did do that, fortunately. So, yeah, that's how to have a successful exit. And also have a relationship with somebody who's not a total psycho, right? My ex-wife is very nice, and we get along very well. So, so there's that. Yeah. So that would be my advice: is don't marry a psycho, and when you do marry her, get a prenup. Have a prenup just in case. Have a happy marriage. That's great. Okay, Blue sent a photo. Let's see what we got here. And then we're going to wrap this puppy up. Oh, a stunner. Let's check this out. Oh, yeah. Holy cow, look at this. Look at this. How can I go full screen with this? Can I go full screen? Oh, I don't know how. Well, I guess that's, oh, here we go, plus. Wow. Look at that puppy. Yeah, see, that looks nice and trim on the wrist. See, that could be an all-arounder, but that one probably does not have a screw-down crown either. A lot of their dressier watches like that don't have a screw-down crown. And for me, for an all-arounder, I kind of require a screw-down crown because an all-arounder implies that you might be going in the water and using it in some extreme situations, and I do like to have a screw-down crown in that case. Let's see here. And don't buy an old Boxster or Cheyenne from an Inglewood, California used car lot. There you go. Yeah, don't buy it from somebody who doesn't speak English. Yeah. Well, that's not going to work out real well for you. We refer to them in the business as gypsies, because they're moving around so much. Don't ask a brocus pocus guy about investing. There you go. Jubilee has become more sporty since Rolex released it on the GMT, etc. I think it's always been. I had GMTs back in the day with a Jubilee. I had no problem at all with it. I think it's fine. I think these people that are anti-Jubilee bracelet people are just way off base. They have no clue. They probably never owned one. Don't marry a psycho. Carlos is laughing. No psychos and prenup. Blue in the house. You can get some great deals on quartz Crador watches on eBay if you search for it a bit. great thin Japanese market. Yeah, here's the thing on those Cradors on I think some of those are fakes. Yeah, I think that's the same idiot trying to get through. That's not going to work. I think some of those are fakes. I'm not sure about those being actual Cradors, some of them. So I'd be careful about that kind of stuff. And some of them don't. Some of them look very questionable. So that's how that works. You can get some great. Okay, all right. I read that one. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap this up. Let me see here. Fakes. Okay. Don't marry sociopaths. There you go. That's good advice as well. All right. Well, and if you do marry one, make sure she's got a lot of money too. That's a plus. Make sure she's got money. And you know what else Dave Ramsey says? Check and see if there's crazy in the family, because there's crazy in every family, right? That's what the other thing he said. There's crazy in every family. And he says if you think there's not crazy in your family, for example, if you think there's not crazy in your family, then it means it's probably you. So there's how that works, because he says there's crazy in every family. What do you think about Archie getting into Patek recently? Archie's an entertainer, and what he's doing for clicks and for super chats. I mean, he's full-time. This is his job, is doing YouTube, so he's doing the best he can to get money any way he can. So, yeah, I mean, that's the way that works. So for him, it's all inventory, and it's all moving watches from here to here, and doing deals, and it's not about buying a watch just to use as a watch and wear out and about and do your thing, right? He's in the business, let's face it. And the watch thing is his business. The watch thing is not my business. Okay, that's not how I make my money. Holy smokes, you're still alive. All women are crazy. Drop me a wrench, guys. Charles Moore is asking for a wrench. Well, you got to get at least 2 members of the wrench gang to vouch for you before we can give you a wrench, Charles. So that's how that works. Dave Ramsey's Foundations of Agreement to a Healthy Marriage, Religion, Kids, In-Laws, and Finances. There you go. My 5 gold star Grand Seiko with date 8 and stainless steel has a screw-down crown. Perfection. Only gains 1/4 second in 4 months. Rich in the house with a crazy Grand Seiko. Absolutely. Yeah, well, mine has a screw-down crown too, my GMT. But it's off by 2 seconds. 1 second, I'm sorry, in 2 months. So a half a second a month. So you got me beat on that one. What do you think of Archie's viewers paying for wrenches? Oh, well, I mean, he's trying to make money. And by the way, if you are going to get married, okay, somebody asked for marriage advice. If you are going to get married, let me pull up a photo of Audrey. Here's a photo of Audrey, okay? Here you go. Audrey's still single, so there you go. If you're looking to get married and you want somebody that's talented and gorgeous, there you go. That's how that works. Audrey, sure. And we have been talking about possibly doing some work together again. We worked together for a number of years, and we may be working together again here soon. So that's a little teaser there. Literally a little teaser. Paying for wrenches. All right, so I'm going to wrap this puppy up. And Charles, keep coming back and keep asking the wrench gang for them to vouch for you, and we will give you a wrench. You'll get a wrench in time. Why don't you marry her? I'm not. I don't think that's a good idea. We have a good relationship, but no, I don't think that's a good idea for me to get married again. I'll leave it at that. But she's very nice to me, and I'm nice to her, and we get along great, and so that's good. Why ruin that with a marriage? That's how I look at that situation. When you got a good solid relationship going, why rock the boat? If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, don't make a pretty woman your wife. Cheat-town. There you go. All right. Well, that's how that works. And some of the gorgeous women, I tell you, can be high maintenance. That's absolutely true. But not all of them. I've had a number over the years that have been very close with me and that have been very nice, that have not been batshit crazy. So I've been very fortunate in that way. You can usually find out fairly quickly if they're batshit crazy. It usually doesn't take a lot of time to determine that. And if they're batshit crazy, the best thing to do is to move on. Cute women are a better bet. Enjoy your evening, Craig. Nice stream. There you go. Absolutely. And that will be a wrap. Why are the women that are amazing in bed also psychopaths? Not always. Not always the case. No, you got to be. But again, once you find out that they are a psychopath, you better move on pretty quick. You better cut your losses. That's how that works. Cut your losses. All right, let me pull this up here so I can stop this broadcast and I can get something to eat here. That's how that's going to play out here. Let's see. Because they feel they can have anyone and always re-examine their options. Well, that doesn't mean they're a psychopath. That just means that they're moving on and making decisions that benefit them. They should look out for themselves. That's what they should do. You know, if you're not pulling your weight, getting the job done, they're going to move on. They've got options. That's what that works. That's how that whole thing works. All right, I'm going to stop this broadcast. Make sure, folks, that you click subscribe and click the bell. Click the bell and click the thumbs up. If you like this show, click the thumbs up. If you don't like this show, click the thumbs up twice. Is that how that works? No, click the thumbs down twice. Yeah. If you don't like the show, click the thumbs down twice. Best to marry a fugly fat lady and have a revolving door of sexy side pieces. Jeez. All right, this show's devolving, it looks like. So we're gonna wrap this puppy up, and everybody have a nice evening and a nice rest of the weekend. In case I don't do a broadcast tomorrow, I don't know if I'm going to do one or not, but Steve is going to have a special broadcast for you Monday. And please show your support and let him know that you appreciate him doing shows so that he'll keep doing it. All right. Thank you, everybody.